Once, bathed in the golden warmth of the Tuscan sun, there nestled a village named Bella Vista, a place where the hills seemed to hum with life and the fields shimmered like woven silk. The earth there was generous, the sky wide and forgiving, and the hearts of its people reflected both. Most of them were farmers, children of soil and season, who rose with the dawn and laid their heads to rest only when the last trace of daylight had dissolved into dusk. Among them lived Antonio, a man whose laughter was as constant as the church bells that marked the passing hours. He owned a modest patch of land where his hands met the plow each morning with quiet devotion. His few livestock, gentle cows with amber eyes, gave milk enough for his sustenance, and he sold the rest to live a life both simple and sufficient. Joy followed him as naturally as a shadow. Sorrow he could not abide, even in others. When Antonio turned 25, he married Isabella, a woman whose heart was a mirror to his, kind, radiant, and alive with empathy. Together, they were like two melodies in harmony, soft, unbroken, and full of grace. Years drifted by, and with the fruits of their labor, Antonio bought another stretch of land. The two lived in quiet contentment, bound by affection and purpose. 8 years passed since their wedding day. They had no children, yet they never let grief take root in the eyes of others. To the villagers, they were a blessing, ever present in times of joy and sorrow. Still, when laughter of children echoed through the meadows, or the tender babbling of a baby spilled from a neighbor's courtyard, a wistful silence would bloom between them. Not long ago, their friend Roberto had held a grand feast for his son's baptism. Antonio and Isabella joined the celebration, but on the way home, Isabella's smile faded. When Antonio asked what weighed upon her, she broke down, whispering through tears, "If only we had a child, we too could rejoice like them." Antonio would often bring home sweet treats or fine bread, but instead of keeping it, he shared it with the village children, saying with a half smile, "If we had a little one, he'd be the first to taste this." Isabella's love for children knew no bounds. Every little one in Bella Vista adored her. When Giovanni, the baker's son, suffered from a stomachache, they called for Isabella, who always arrived with soft hands and soothing words. When Maria's mother, poor and weary, found herself in need, Isabella was there, giving quietly, asking nothing in return. She braided Maria's hair with the care of a mother and helped other struggling families in small but meaningful ways. More than once, she arranged the marriages of poor village girls, offering dowries when their parents could not. Whenever Isabella cooked something fragrant and fine, she would send portions to the children of the village. In the evenings, when she watched them play in the fields, her eyes would soften with unspoken longing. "If only I had a child of my own," she would think. He would rise early to play among the olive trees, then return at noon, calling, "Mama, give me some bread." In her imagination, she saw him growing, learning, becoming her and Antonio's comfort in their twilight years. Each morning, as the first light crept across her courtyard, Isabella filled a clay bowl with clear water and scattered grains of rice and corn. The air would soon flutter with wings, tiny, hungry visitors who sang at her windows and built their nests along her ceiling beams. She never disturbed them, for she believed every bird that rested under her roof carried a blessing from God. But the seasons turned, and one summer, Antonio fell ill with a faint fever. Isabella begged him to rest, but he laughed it off. "It's nothing," he said. "The doctor's medicine will fix me soon enough." Yet the next evening, when he returned from the fields, his skin burned with heat. The doctor warned him sternly, no more work beneath the sun. Antonio promised, but promises made in the pride of men are often broken by habit. The next morning, he went out again. By dusk, his strength gave way. He collapsed, trembling with fever. The doctor diagnosed sunstroke and left more medicine. But the illness deepened like a cruel shadow. 2 days later, Antonio's laughter, so loved, so constant, fell silent forever. Isabella's cries echoed through the quiet house, but in time, she gathered herself and whispered. It was God's will. She found peace in the very faith that had always steadied her heart. Days later, life, in its gentle persistence, brought purpose once more. Her neighbor asked if Isabella could teach her young son, Henry, his letters and prayers. She agreed, and so began the quiet rhythm of a new life. Children filled her courtyard with laughter and curiosity. 10, sometimes 15 of them came each day, learning to read beneath the shade of her fig tree. Soon, the whole village called her Aunt Isabella. To the little ones, she was a mother they all shared. Even as her hair silvered and her eyes grew dim, the children never ceased to come. Their innocence drew toward her warmth like flowers turning to the sun. When Henry completed his lessons, his mother held a feast in Isabella's honor. As she sat there, smiling at the laughter and the light, she felt once again the tender ache of what might have been. Antonio gone, and no child of her own to call her name in old age. Yet, she was not alone. She had her sister's family to manage her lands, and the village children, her countless little blessings, to fill her heart. One afternoon, her neighbor rushed in, distressed. Little Anna had fallen ill and refused to eat the tapioca prescribed by the doctor. "Will you come, Aunt Isabella?" she pleaded. Aunt Isabella never said no. She went at once, found the child pale and frail, and sat beside her bed. "My dear," she said softly, "if you don't eat, how will you grow strong again? God loves the little ones who listen to their elders." A few days later, on a golden afternoon, washed in the scent of olive trees, Aunt Isabella, ever gentle and warm-hearted, was on her way to visit a neighbor when she came upon a troubling sight. A group of village children stood by the meadow, their laughter echoing like birdsong, but not in kindness. They were taking aim with slingshots, striking helpless little birds that fluttered desperately against the clear Tuscan sky. Yet with a firmness that silenced their play, "Children," she said, "never harm these tiny beings. They cannot speak to defend themselves. Yet, they too are part of God's creation. Our dear Savior has taught us mercy, not cruelty. To wound the innocent is a grave sin." Her words, spoken with a quiet authority of love, melted the children's mirth into shame. Their slingshots fell to the ground, and one by one, they drifted away in silence. At that moment, Isabella's eyes fell upon a small bundle of fur lying in the grass, a tiny kitten, whimpering in pain, its little paw bloodied. She stooped down, lifted it gently into her arms, and carried it home. There, she washed its wound with cool water, rubbed it softly with oil and turmeric, and placed it in a cozy basket lined with old linen. She set a bowl of water and a few crumbs of bread beside it. Within 4 or 5 days, the kitten was well again. It meowed cheerfully and played about the courtyard, chasing sunlight and dust motes alike. Isabella would smile watching it, her heart blooming with joy. She fed it warm rice in a tiny bowl, sometimes a drop of milk, sometimes a sweet treat of her own making. One afternoon, she had to step out for a short visit. The village children were at her home for their reading lessons, so she left them there, trusting their innocence. But when she returned, the sight before her pierced her heart. The children were poking the kitten with broom straws. The poor creature darted about in fear while their laughter rang out. Isabella's face turned pale. Though anger burned within her, she mastered it, as she always did, and spoke softly yet gravely. "These creatures cannot speak, my dears. When you are hurt, you cry, you protest, but they have no words to express their pain. Do you not think it angers God when we wound what He has made helpless? Her words sank deep into their young hearts. They fell silent and sat down, their eyes lowered. From that day onward, none of them ever hurt another animal again. As time passed, the kitten grew, and it was no ordinary cat. Its whiskers gleamed red gold in the sun, its fur shimmered in hues of silver and blue, and under daylight, its body glistened as though it were dusted with diamonds. The village children, in their wonder, began calling it the Diamond Cat. It was clever and affectionate, always answering their calls with a proud, musical meow, as if asking, "Why do you summon me?" It became a creature of fascination, unique, almost magical, unlike any cat they had ever known. Now, one of Isabella's friends, Maria's mother, had gathered a small treasure for her daughter's dowry: clothes, a few pieces of jewelry, and had left them in Isabella's care. The old woman guarded them faithfully, treating them as sacred trusts. One evening, after teaching her pupils till dusk, Isabella dined, prayed her evening prayers, and fell into deep sleep, weary from the day's work. Her snores filled the quiet house. Outside, the night had wrapped the village in silence. It was near midnight when two thieves scaled the courtyard wall and crept into her home. But the Diamond Cat, ever alert, sensed movement. Its eyes, sharper than the night itself, caught the shadows. It stiffened. This was no small rustle of wind. The thieves were after the treasures kept in trust. Unlike ordinary cats, the Diamond Cat could see in the dark with piercing clarity. It leapt from its basket, hissing and crying loudly, trying to wake Aunt Isabella. It knew, by instinct, by love, that something precious was in danger. But Isabella, in her old age, could barely hear. The cat's desperate cries failed to rouse her. The thieves cursed under their breath, trying to scare the cat away, but it refused to move. It leapt around the room, knocking against furniture, making noise enough to wake the dead, yet the old woman slept on, oblivious. Soon, the thieves opened a chest, the very one that held Maria's mother's jewels and silks. They emptied it swiftly, then turned to the cupboard for more. The Diamond Cat darted around their feet, hissing, scratching, yowling, refusing to let them steal in peace. But the men gathered everything valuable, tied it in a cloth, and escaped the way they came, leaping over the wall into the cold winter night. The Diamond Cat followed. Small as it was, its courage outshone its size. It slunk behind them silently through the frost-bitten fields, its eyes glinting like two tiny embers. It watched where they went, an old house far from the village, forgotten by most. The thieves entered, laughing softly, and hid the stolen goods inside a cupboard. The cat did not rest. Though the air was freezing, though its paws trembled, it turned back toward home. More than once, it stumbled against a wall or fell into the mud, but it pressed on, guided by loyalty. For the love Isabella had shown it, the Diamond Cat was determined to repay her in kind. By dawn, it reached the cottage once more. Desperate to wake her, it meowed with all the strength it had. It leapt into its basket, knocked over the water bowl, and the cold water splashed across Isabella's face. She awoke with a start, startled and cross. "Good heavens, what's all this?" she muttered, wiping her face. Seeing the basket open, she frowned. She was certain she had latched it shut the night before. Then she saw the cat pacing wildly, crying out as if possessed. Puzzled, she rose from her bed. The cat ran ahead of her to the chest. The lid stood open. Isabella's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes darted to the cupboard. It, too, had been disturbed. A deep sadness filled her. The jewels, the silks, all gone. "Oh, Lord," she whispered. "What will they think of me now? They entrusted me with their treasures. Who will believe I was not at fault? The cat circled her feet, then darted toward the door, glancing back as though urging her to follow. With trembling hands, she opened it. The cat led her down winding paths, across the misty fields, and toward the edge of the village. There, it stopped before a lonely, crumbling house and began to meow with fierce insistence. Through the cracked shutters, Isabella heard laughter. "Ah," said one voice, "we made a fine haul from that old woman's house." The other replied, chuckling, "She'll never know it was us. No one ever comes here." Their words cut through the night like knives. Isabella stood frozen, realization dawning. Quietly, she turned to leave, her faithful companion padding close behind. Its diamond-like fur glinting faintly in the moonlight. When dawn brushed its soft light over the hills of Bella Vista, Aunt Isabella had already made her decision. The air still carried the faint echo of morning prayers, and the first rays of sunlight slipped across the tiled rooftops. Her heart, however, was calm. Whatever destiny God had written for her, she was ready to accept it. After saying her morning prayers beneath the gentle toll of the church bell, she called out to a few young men from the village. When they arrived, she told them quietly, "My house was robbed last night. Everything is gone." A hush fell over the group. Never before had such a thing happened in their peaceful little village. The men exchanged shocked glances and whispered among themselves, "Who could do such a thing to Aunt Isabella?" She looked at them with steady eyes and asked softly, "Will you help me?" Every heart in the village was bound to her. She had once shared in every wedding, every sorrow, every harvest joy, and now they stood beside her without hesitation. She led them beyond the fields to the lonely house she had seen before. And there, as the sun lifted over the horizon, they caught the thieves, Bruno and Carlo, sorting through the stolen goods. They were not hardened criminals, merely poor men driven by despair. Still, what they had done was grave. The villagers recovered every stolen item, including those entrusted to Isabella by others. "Let's take them before the village council," the people cried. But Isabella raised her hand gently. "No," she said. "I have all that was taken. I forgive them." Then she turned to the two trembling men and asked, "Why did you steal?" Their voices were low and ashamed. "We are poor, Aunt Isabella. What else could we do? If we don't steal, we'll starve." Her eyes softened. "No, my sons," she said. "There is no blessing in stolen bread. God frowns upon hands that take what isn't theirs. Promise me you'll never steal again, and I will speak to Roberto. He needs workers in his fields. You shall have honest work, and peace will follow you." The men bowed their heads and promised. 2 lost souls were saved that morning, saved by kindness, not punishment. Then someone asked, "But Aunt Isabella, how did you know they were here?" She smiled faintly and told them the story, the water splashing her awake, the cat's wild cries, its restless pacing. When she mentioned how the diamond cat had escaped its basket, Bruno chuckled awkwardly and admitted, "It was me, Aunt. I unlatched the basket. The cat was making such noise, I feared you'd wake up." At that, everyone burst into laughter. Bruno and Carlo lowered their eyes, red with embarrassment, while Aunt Isabella laughed too, her heart lighter than it had been in days. That evening, in gratitude, she hosted a feast, and the guest of honor was none other than the diamond cat. The old woman prepared sweets and little bowls of boiled rice, set out like offerings of love. The cat purred around her feet, eyes shining like 2 polished stones. Affection, when fed daily, becomes something sacred. The diamond cat had become her constant companion, her child of fate. To honor it, Isabella had a golden basket made, its frame strung with colorful beads that glimmered in the sunlight. She no longer confined it during the day. It was too loyal to wander far. Only at night did she close the lid to protect it from stray dogs and the dangers of the dark. And even then, the diamond cat never once tried to escape. When the feast day arrived, Isabella tied tiny beaded strings around its paws, and the cat roamed about the cottage like a jeweled creature of myth, leaping from chair to window, from window to floor, but never once spoiling food or misbehaving as common cats often did. Her love deepened with each passing day. One afternoon, Henry came for his reading lesson. Afterward, he sat to eat while the diamond cat nibbled at a dish of rice nearby. But just then, a stray dog crept into the courtyard, its eyes fixed hungrily on the cat. The diamond cat, lost in its meal, didn't notice. Aunt Isabella saw it, and with a cry, she rushed forward. A glass vase shattered as she stumbled past, but she didn't stop. Though her old legs trembled and her breath caught in her chest, she ran, shouting to chase the dog away. The dog fled at the noise, but a shard of glass cut her foot, and her ankle scraped hard against the wall. She winced but didn't care. She had saved her precious companion. The diamond cat, trembling, scampered back into its basket and gazed up at her with grateful eyes. In its small, wordless way, it seemed to understand. Days later, her wound healed, but her strength began to fade. Age, that silent visitor, had come to stay. One day it was a cold, another a cough, another a fever. The weeks rolled by, and illness became her closest shadow. The village women, devoted to her as always, offered remedies of herbs and teas, but she would smile gently and say, "Never take medicine without the doctor's advice, my dear ones. What suits one may harm another. Every body is different, and only a doctor can tell what's right." Then came a week of burning fever. The doctor visited daily, and every evening a different woman stayed by her side through the night. When at last her fever subsided, she was frail and pale as parchment. Her hands trembled, and even rising from bed was an effort. The villagers, grateful for her lifetime of kindness, refused to let her lift a finger. For a month, they cared for her, but her health didn't return. She could barely move without pain. And yet, the diamond cat stayed by her side, patient as an angel. When she forgot to feed it, it never cried or clawed or begged. It only watched her quietly, as if understanding her weakness. On the third day after her slight recovery, she felt a chill return. She had forgotten her morning medicine, and by afternoon, the fever had risen again. By nightfall, she couldn't even rise from bed. Seeing her pale and still, the diamond cat grew restless. It darted from room to room, then sprang over the doorstep and ran to the neighbor's house, meowing with such desperate cries that it startled everyone. The neighbors recognized it instantly. "That's Aunt Isabella's cat. Something must be wrong," one woman said, alarmed. She hurried over, and when she saw Isabella lying weak and burning with fever, she cried out for help. Others came running. Soon the doctor was fetched. He examined her gravely. It was a small carelessness, he said, but small things can bring great harm. She must be taken to the city hospital at once. And so, with deep concern and gentle hands, the villagers carried her to the city. Their devotion reflected the goodness she had long sown among them. Compassion returned to its source. At the hospital, the physician prescribed medicines and said kindly, "She will recover. Do not fear." And for a few days, it seemed she might, but her heart knew otherwise. "I am old," she thought. "My time is near. I must set the diamond cat free so it may live as it chooses and not suffer when I am gone." That evening, with trembling hands, she unlatched the golden basket and whispered, "Go, my dear one. The world is yours now." But when dusk fell and shadows deepened across the room, the diamond cat returned quietly to its basket. It curled up within, just as it had always done. Its loyalty unbroken, its love eternal. The diamond cat tried again and again to leave, but something within it would not move. It only pressed its soft body closer to the golden basket, refusing to run away. Aunt Isabella sighed. When hunger comes, she thought tenderly, it will go of its own accord. So she left the basket open. But the diamond cat did not wish to leave the house that had sheltered it, the gentle hands that had fed it, the voice that had called it dear one. Yet when it saw Aunt Isabella lying weak and pale, unable even to rise without effort, its heart filled with sorrow. She had saved its life twice. She had always placed sweet milk and rice before it, always spoken with kindness. Shouldn't I do something for her now? It thought. But what can a small creature like me do? That night passed in silence. When dawn's first light touched the window, Aunt Isabella opened her eyes and whispered to herself, "Perhaps it's better if I go. Who will care for the diamond cat after me? Who will prepare its treats? It will learn to find food on its own." Outside, the diamond cat wandered aimlessly. It didn't know what it sought, only that its heart was heavy. It roamed the lanes, then the fields, and by noon it reached a forest, its paws dusty from the long walk. Climbing a tree to rest, it found itself surrounded by birds of every color. They fluttered near, chirping curiously, drawn to its jeweled fur and shining eyes. But the diamond cat could not play. It was thinking of Aunt Isabella, sick and alone. With a restless leap, it left the birds behind and wandered until evening. Darkness fell. The forest grew cold and still. Not knowing where to go, it curled up on a tree branch and slept beneath the stars. When dawn returned, a pale ribbon of light spread across the forest. The diamond cat stirred and froze. Coiled beside it on the same branch was a long, thin snake, its hood raised, its tongue flickering. A single glance, and the cat understood that one breath later, it would have been gone. It leapt from the branch in terror, and the snake's strike hissed through the air, landing exactly where the cat had been. Heart pounding, the diamond cat thanked God for sparing its life. Perhaps, it thought, I was saved to find a cure for Aunt Isabella. It was hungry now and searched for food. On the ground below lay scattered grains of rice, glinting white against the earth. It bent its head to eat, but in an instant, a net tightened around it. A hunter had set the trap only moments before. Soon a cat found itself in a small cage carried to the hunter's home. The sight of that narrow prison broke its spirit, reminding it of its golden basket back in Aunt Isabella's house. The hunter's children, delighted by their prize, crowded around the cage. But their delight was cruel. One poked it with a stick, another tugged its tail. Bit by bit, its shining fur began to fall away, leaving its skin raw with pain. Now the diamond cat regretted its foolish wandering. But regret could not open cages. It refused the food they gave, enduring 2 long days in hunger and silence. On the 3rd day, when the hunter opened the door to feed it, the cat sprang forward like a flash of light and disappeared before the man could even cry out. For 3 days and nights, the diamond cat journeyed on, sometimes running, sometimes resting, always alert for hidden traps. Hunger gnawed at it, but its will was stronger than its body. At last, it reached a land of barren mountains, a world of stone and silence. There was no green blade, no sign of life. Still it pressed on. To stop was death. To move was hope. Its courage, if measured against humankind's, would have shamed even the bravest. For in its small heart burned only one desire: to repay the kindness of Aunt Isabella, who had once saved its life. Humans often forget the good done to them, but this little creature had not. It walked with faith, though it did not know what path would lead to its goal, nor what miracle could heal her. Then, from afar, it saw a shimmer of greenery, a patch of life upon the mountainside. There, a clear spring bubbled up between stones. To one who has wandered in thirst, such a sight is paradise. The diamond cat bent and drank, feeling strength return. By sunset, it had reached a dense forest in the highlands. Exhausted, it climbed a tree and slept, lulled by the whispers of the wind. When morning came, the forest sang. Birds filled the branches, their voices rising like a hymn. The diamond cat sat listening, thinking of what to do next. Just then, a strange sound broke through the birdsong. Another cat's cry. "Dear cat," it called weakly, "help me. I'm in trouble." The diamond cat searched and saw, on a nearby tree, another cat ensnared in a tangle of vines. Beneath it crouched a large mountain fox, its yellow eyes gleaming. The trapped cat trembled with fear. The diamond cat's heart ached. It wanted to help, but feared falling into the same trap. The fox's gaze was sharp. It seemed ready to spring at any moment. The diamond cat hesitated, until suddenly another fox appeared on its own tree, creeping toward it. Now it was cornered. Survival flared within it. With one desperate leap, it jumped to a neighboring tree. By some miracle, the two foxes turned upon each other, snarling, lunging, rolling in a furious fight until they both tumbled down. The diamond cat seized the chance. It scrambled to the tree where the other cat was caught and began tearing at the snare with its claws. The vines were thick, but it didn't stop until the trapped cat could wriggle free. "Thank you," cried the rescued one, panting. "If you hadn't come, I'd have died in that monster's trap." The diamond cat asked gently, "How did you get caught?" The other cat sighed. "Last night I slept here safely, but while I slept, the fox must have set the trap. At dawn, I called to the birds for help, but they were gone to find food. No one heard me." "Why not sleep in a den?" asked the diamond cat. The cat lowered its head. "I had built a beautiful den this season, but yesterday a cruel hunter came. I escaped, and in anger he destroyed everything. Tired and hopeless, I thought, I'll rebuild it tomorrow. That was my mistake. I learned today that one should never leave for tomorrow what can be done today." The diamond cat nodded, feeling the weight of that truth, and then again thought of Aunt Isabella. The next morning, the rescued cat noticed its savior's sorrowful eyes. "You seem troubled," it said. "You saved my life. Let me, if I can, repay you." The diamond cat told its story: the sick woman, the doctor's hopeless words, the journey to find some cure. The other cat listened and then said, "Do you see how all the trees around us are bare because of autumn? But this one we rest on is green and full of fruit?" "Yes," said the diamond cat softly. "I thought it a wonder of God and did not ask." "This is no ordinary tree," the cat replied. "Its fruit holds healing power. Whoever eats 17 of these small, colorful fruits for 17 days is restored to perfect health, no matter how ill." The diamond cat's eyes widened. "Is it true?" "I have seen it," said the cat. "People come from far away for these fruits." "Then I must take them to Aunt Isabella," cried the diamond cat with joy. But the other warned gently, "Remember, the fruits lose their magic within 12 hours of being plucked. After that, they dry and become useless." The diamond cat's heart sank. No matter how swiftly it ran, it could not reach home in less than 2 or 3 days. Tears welled in its eyes at its helplessness. Then, as it sat thinking, something white fell through the air with a dull thud. Both cats jumped. On the ground lay an injured hare, breathing faintly, its eyes half closed. "Poor thing," said the diamond cat. "If we don't help it, it will die." The other cat cautioned, "We don't know who hurt it. Don't interfere. It could bring trouble. The diamond cat hesitated. You may be right, it said softly. But after a moment's thought, its heart would not rest. Quietly, it crept toward the fallen hare, for it was not in the diamond cat's nature to look away from suffering. The diamond cat noticed that the hare's wounds were not severe, yet something about the creature seemed strangely wrong. Despite its minor injuries, it lay motionless, drained of all strength, unable even to twitch. While pondering this mystery, the cat's gleaming eyes caught sight of a very fine, slender needle embedded between the hare's long ears, almost invisible against its fur. The sight startled the diamond cat. Acting on pure instinct, without even understanding why, it leapt forward and swiftly tugged the needle out with its delicate claws. In the very next moment, the lifeless hare shimmered, and before the cat's astonished eyes, it transformed into a radiant fairy. She was draped in robes of shimmering gold, and upon her head rested a crown of the same hue, glinting with diamonds that danced in the light. The diamond cat, overwhelmed with awe and fear, instinctively drew back, ready to flee. But the fairy's voice, soft, melodious, and full of grace, halted it mid-step. Beautiful cat, she said gently, you have freed me from a terrible curse. You have done me a great kindness. The diamond cat could hardly believe its ears. A fairy speaking the language of cats. Sensing its amazement, the golden fairy smiled and said, Yes, dear one, I understand the tongues of many creatures. You must wonder how I came to be a hare. At that moment, the other cat, curious and cautious, padded closer. The diamond cat voiced the question trembling in its mind, and the fairy's luminous face turned grave. About 2 miles from this forest, she began, dwells a cruel and wicked sorcerer named Shadwell the sorcerer. He demanded that I marry him, but how could I, a fairy of light, ever bind myself to such darkness? Enraged by my refusal, he drove a magical needle into my head and turned me into a hare. Then he cast me into this forest so that the beasts might devour me. But God was merciful. I landed upon a tree instead, and through your kindness, I am free once more. Yet I fear that if Shadwell discovers my escape, he will conjure another curse upon me. The diamond cat's eyes blazed with quiet courage. Golden fairy, it said, trust in God. Those who wrong others cannot escape their punishment forever. But tell me, is there no way to stop this sorcerer's cruelty? The fairy's expression darkened. There are only 2 ways, she whispered. Either Shadwell must be slain, or his eyes must be destroyed. For it is through his eyes that all his magical power flows. Without them, he becomes an ordinary mortal. The diamond cat turned to its companion. For a moment, the 2 seemed to communicate in silence, their eyes reflecting the same resolve. Then the diamond cat looked back at the fairy and said, Kind fairy, can you tell us where this Shadwell lives? Yes, replied the fairy. Beyond the azure mountains, past the misty peaks, lies a stone castle, his fortress of sorcery. The place is surrounded by enchantments so dense that not even the wind can enter it. The diamond cat bowed slightly, its diamond-like eyes gleaming with determination. Golden fairy, it said, we are but small creatures, fragile and powerless, yet we will not turn away. I have a plan. Meet us here tomorrow evening. Perhaps, by God's grace, we may bring you justice. The fairy's smile returned, radiant and full of gratitude. Why would I not come? She said softly. You saved my life. Because of you, I am myself again. The next morning, both cats whispered prayers and set forth toward the dreaded castle of Shadwell the sorcerer. Though the journey was long and harsh, they were driven by faith and purpose. determined to see their plan through before nightfall and to strike down tyranny in the name of mercy. The diamond cat, who had learned the meaning of kindness and courage through every trial of its life, now walked a path no ordinary creature could tread. It was as though this humble cat carried the spirit of a noble heart. For when God wills, even the smallest of his creations can rise above kings and warriors. After hours of climbing, they reached the foothills of the Azure Mountains. In the bright sunlight, the slopes glittered as if scattered with countless diamonds, dazzling their eyes. The two cats ascended so high that they seemed mere shadows to anyone watching from below. Despite the blinding light, they meowed to each other in joy, as if singing a hymn of courage. At last, from atop a vast boulder, they saw it, the castle the Golden Fairy had described. From a distance, it looked magnificent, but its walls were steeped in an eerie, unnatural hue, as though spirits haunted its halls. The gate was huge, forged of black iron, and no window or skylight poked the cold stone walls. While they watched, the massive gates creaked open. Out strode two monstrous trolls, each as tall as a tree, with enormous horns curving from their heads. Their tiny eyes glowed red, their teeth jutted out like tusks, and their fingernails, sharp and grotesque, looked more like talons. These were Shadwell's servants, bound to his will by dark magic. Just then, a parrot flew past the gate. One troll laughed cruelly, and with a flick of his little finger, slit the bird's neck. The poor parrot fell lifeless to the ground. The sight sent a shudder through both cats, but the diamond cat's heart, steadfast and unflinching, refused to retreat. At that very moment, a group of trolls approached the gate, carrying large baskets brimming with fruits and delicacies. Shadwell's lunch. Seeing this, an idea flashed in the diamond cat's mind. "We'll hide inside those baskets," it whispered to the forest cat. "That's how we'll enter the castle." Without hesitation, both leaped down from their perch and burrowed deep among the fruits. When the trolls carried the baskets through the gates, they were too lazy and arrogant to notice anything amiss. Inside, they set the baskets upon a great table and lumbered off. As soon as they were gone, the two cats emerged silently and darted toward the farthest corner, hiding behind the shutter of a narrow skylight. "Now, we must find Shadwell himself," whispered the forest cat. "Be careful," replied the diamond cat. "No one must see us." They crept through chamber after chamber, but strangely, the castle was empty. Each room was stacked high with treasures, golden coins, jeweled crowns, ornaments, and fine fabrics. Yet the air was cold and heavy, and upon every wall hung human skulls and bones, gleaming pale in the candlelight. The diamond cat's heart grew heavier. In this castle of unimaginable riches, human cruelty and greed had left a trail of death. It thought of poor Bruno and Carlo, driven to theft merely for 2 meals a day, while this sorcerer wallowed in stolen gold. After searching every chamber, they still hadn't found Shadwell. "Maybe he's gone somewhere," whispered the forest cat. "He'll be back soon," the diamond cat replied. "Didn't you hear the trolls say the meal was only for him?" Then a sudden thought struck it. "We haven't explored the upper floors yet," it said. "Perhaps he's there." Moving carefully, they ascended the grand staircase. The upper chambers were even more ornate. Gilded tables, silver vessels, and candles burning atop skulls. A chill passed through their fur. Finally, as they peered through the skylight of the last room, they saw him, Shadwell, the sorcerer. He was enormous, a grotesque mountain of flesh seated on a golden throne. His eyes burned like coals, his teeth jutted like fangs. Sparse strands of hair hung from his scalp, and deep wrinkles furrowed his narrow brow. "And with trolls as his slaves and guards," whispered the forest cat in terror. "His power must be unimaginable. We should flee while we still can." But the diamond cat's voice was calm, steady, and full of quiet resolve. "If you wish to leave," it said softly, "then go. But I will stay. I'll wait until Shadwell falls asleep." Hearing this, the forest cat fell silent for a while, torn between fear and admiration. Then she murmured, "I want to stand by you no matter what happens. Yet, looking at this monster fills me with dread. You must be brave for us both." The diamond cat nodded, its diamond blue eyes gleaming in the dim candlelight. "We came here to do a noble deed," it said, "to end the tyranny of a cruel oppressor. God will surely stand with us." Those were the very words the cat had once heard from Aunt Isabella, the woman whose gentle wisdom had shaped its heart. Time passed. The monstrous sorcerer rose from his throne, lumbered to his enormous bed, and sank into it with a groan. Shadwell had no task in life but to eat and to sleep. And because of this, his body had swollen into grotesque obesity. The diamond cat whispered, "Be ready. The time draws near when we shall free God's creatures from this tyrant's cruelty." Moments later, the castle was filled with Shadwell's heavy snores, strange guttural sounds, like a chorus of witches shrieking in the dark. The diamond cat had already observed that, due to his immense size, Shadwell could not move swiftly, but with a flick of magic, he could destroy them both in an instant. So despite the echoing snores, both cats waited patiently for his sleep to deepen. When they were certain the sorcerer had sunk into a heavy slumber, they drew out the sharp, poisonous thorns they had hidden beneath their paws, thorns they had plucked from a venomous plant on their way through the forest. Then, gripping the thorns between their teeth, the two brave cats leapt onto the monstrous face of the sleeping Shadwell and, with all their strength, drove the thorns deep into his eyes. The poison worked at once. The sorcerer awoke with a horrific scream, clutching his face. His roars shook the chamber as he writhed in agony, his ruined eyes oozing venom. The great Shadwell, the sorcerer, master of dark arts and terror, was blind. His powers were gone. "How dare you?" he bellowed. "Who has done this to me? Who has blinded me and destroyed my life? I am undone. All is lost." His voice cracked with anguish. "Take my treasures. Take my gold. Only give me back my eyes. I no longer crave magic. I repent. I have sinned against the creatures of God. I turned men into beasts. I tormented the innocent. Oh, how wicked I have been. But for God's sake, restore my sight." And there, in the darkness of his cursed chamber, the mighty sorcerer began to sob like a madman. The two cats, watching from the doorway, meowed loudly as they scampered away, their cries ringing like laughter. When he oppressed others, they seemed to say, he showed no mercy. Now that pain has come to him, he wails for pity. Once he enslaved and cursed the innocent, but today his arrogance has been shattered by two small cats. The path home seemed shorter now, filled with triumph. The mountain winds carried their joy, and even the trees and streams along the way appeared to dance with them. The leaves shimmered, the flowers swayed, and the rippling brooks seemed to sing in delight, as though nature itself rejoiced in the downfall of evil. As they walked, the diamond cat turned to her companion and said playfully, "Didn't I tell you? If God wills it, we can achieve anything. You were afraid, but haven't you heard what humans say? With courage, nothing is impossible." They ran faster now, eager to reach the forest clearing where the golden fairy had promised to meet them. When they arrived, she was already there, surrounded by many others, all glowing with ethereal beauty. There were princes and princesses, fairies and beings of pure light, newly freed from Shadwell's dark spells. The golden fairy's eyes sparkled with joy as she saw the cats. "I already knew," she said, "that you had succeeded." The moment Shadwell's eyes were destroyed, every creature he had enchanted was released from his magic. Humans who had been turned into beasts have regained their true forms. The others around her could not understand the cat's words, so they waited in reverent silence. Then a beautiful princess stepped forward and asked the golden fairy, "We've all been restored, and our freedom has come through Shadwell's downfall. But who are the ones who delivered us? You promised to show us our saviors." The golden fairy smiled and pointed toward the diamond cat and its companion. "There they are," she said softly. All turned to gaze at the two small creatures. The diamond cat gave a modest little meow and shook its glimmering fur, its coat shining like moonlight. "Kind cats," said the freed ones in unison, bowing low, "you've done us a great favor. Tell us, how can we ever repay you?" The diamond cat simply meowed again, as if saying, "No thanks are needed. It was our duty." But suddenly, the cat's joy faded. A shadow crossed its heart as it remembered Aunt Isabella, the gentle woman who had once saved its life. The cat had left home to find a cure for her illness. But in the long struggle to defeat Shadwell, precious time had passed. It slipped away quietly to a nearby tree and perched upon a branch. Lost in sorrow, it recalled what the other cat had told it, that whoever ate one fruit daily from the miraculous tree for 17 days would be cured of every ailment. But the diamond cat knew it could only carry 1 or 2 fruits in its tiny mouth, and the long journey home made it impossible to fetch them fresh each day. As the others celebrated their freedom, the cats turned homeward, their hearts heavy. Seeing this, the golden fairy spread her radiant wings and flew gently toward the diamond cat. "Kind cat," she said tenderly, "you've done something none of us will ever forget. But why do you look so sad?" The diamond cat said nothing, its eyes downcast. Its companion, however, explained everything about Aunt Isabella's illness and the curative fruits. The fairy smiled warmly. "Do not grieve, dear one. I will carry a fresh fruit to your Aunt Isabella's home every day myself. God has blessed me with the power to travel hundreds of miles in mere moments." Hearing these words, the diamond cat was overcome with joy. Its fur glistened even more brightly, its blue-gray sheen deepening like polished sapphire beneath the sun. "Go home, kind cat," said the fairy. "I'll arrive the morning after tomorrow with the first fruit. And yes, let your companion come with me. Living beside you, helping others, that will bring me happiness." The diamond cat purred in agreement, and so they set off. After 3 days of continuous travel, the diamond cat finally reached Aunt Isabella's home. But what it saw there broke its heart. Aunt Isabella lay pale and frail, surrounded by worried neighbors. Her condition had worsened greatly. "If only we had carried a few fruits ourselves," the cat thought in despair. But then it remembered. They would have dried and lost their power long before the journey's end. At that moment, a golden light shimmered in the sky, and down descended the golden fairy, carrying a single, radiant fruit in her hands. The diamond cat leapt with joy, meowing with gratitude. The fairy placed the fruit before it, and then soared away. Day after day, for 16 more days, the fairy brought a fresh fruit. Aunt Isabella ate them faithfully, and on the 17th day, she rose from her bed, her strength fully restored, her face glowing with life once more. The diamond cat's joy was boundless. Its journey, its struggle, its courage, all had been worth it. Aunt Isabella, too, showered her beloved cats with affection and the finest treats, filling the house again with laughter and warmth. And even now, the villagers speak of the diamond cat, the little creature whose courage defeated a sorcerer, whose loyalty healed a heart, and whose name became a legend that shimmered like a diamond through time.